Hello, hats off. So this I'm not spinning a tale. Uh, this is nonfiction. But what I want to do is do another gloss about what I'm doing. Earth's Drink Honeymoon is the name of the story, the tale I'm spinning. And I already have five glosses, I think, or five parts to the gloss, and this I think is the sixth. I don't really need this. Remind you that a gloss is a commentary. I don't really need this gloss at the moment. I think I could probably just keep going because once I finally got the story underway, uh, to some extent it's almost telling itself. And I have to be careful, I find, to my surprise, that there's so much of the story that's coming into my mind that I think, well, that's too much. I can't tell all that stuff because I have to keep something like action going. Uh, but I would like feedback if you have any feedback to offer, especially anyone who's listened to the four chapters so far of the tale. And if you've looked at the other glosses, that would be fine too. You'd have an idea of what I'm doing. I've made some mistakes. One of the things that jumps to my mind as I see these is I probably ought to stop messing with my face all the time as I tell the story, you know. But I, I've got a cat on my lap a lot of the time, and a lot of that is because of cat hair. I think just, I'm not allergic to cats, but, that's minor. You could always just not look at the screen and listen to my telling. I made some mistakes. One was almost like a Freudian mistake in that I referred to Earth's Drink at one point as Earth's Spring. Now, my story is based on Roaring Spring, but I have no intention of putting that name into the work, although I'm not hiding that. Now, in four chapters, I've managed to introduce the two main characters, certainly. Heidi, in some depth. Heidi, no doubt, is going to be the main character. Peter, secondary. But there are a bunch more. I've mentioned their parents who are with them. I've introduced the idea of the Six Springs or Six Nations airport. I've neglected to mention that they were flying into Farmer's Cove. I had to backtrack a little bit to get that in there. And I'm not sure if I named the town that's nearby there. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to pack in there. I've got the idea that Heidi is a little conflicted, maybe more than a lot of conflicted, and that can help me to power my tale. I think you've got to have. It seems to me you've got to have some kind of a conflict to be resolved or to be worked through to keep interest going. I certainly don't want this to just be a list of what the couple and now their parents do every day of the 7 days that they're there. And not just a list, it's got to be much more than that. I've, introduced Mennonites. They're in horse and buggies as they're. I've got more to explain about that. You've met one of the drivers, a Mennonite. I've also explained to some extent about the Great Awakening or the Great Change that has occurred over the last 5 years. It's been referenced. I've referenced it some, and I believe the character Mervyn, the driver of the lead buggy, I think he mentioned it as well. I don't know if I'm fairly content with what I'm doing. What I'd like to see now, I think, is more views. And I think that will happen because eventually people are going to pick up on the fact that, well, Frank's telling a story about where I live. I know all those places. And what's he going to call the next one, or that may generate some interest. We'll see. So I'm kind of just checking in, reminding you that there are these glosses, and I will continue periodically to comment on what I have been doing. Another thing, how long should they be? I find that 10 minutes is like a top limit. I shouldn't really go beyond 10 minutes in any given chapter. I don't think. I could. I mean, I could just sit here and just tell you the whole story, I suppose, if you had all afternoon and I didn't. But it seems to me 10 minutes is about right. So give me feedback if any occurs to you. Bye for now.